To this now, the chickens are coming home to roost. Rolling blackouts are increasing the price of poultry. Farmers say already high input costs are rising due to cost of generators and fuel. But there's some good news with inflation showing some signs of easing after December's peak. Let's discuss this with senior agricultural economist at FNB. Paul Makube joins me this morning to take this conversation forward. And Paul, thank you so much for your time. And we have to start, I suppose, with the challenges with which most poultry farmers are going through. It seems high input costs are at the peak of those challenges.
Thanks for having me, and good morning. Sorry. The challenges that we experienced, and I actually carried over from 2022, high feed costs mainly. Maize prices have been relatively high during the course of 2022. Obvious causes, international pressures, supply chain issues that impacted on the commodities, and as a result, they were operating under high cost environment. But getting into 2022, the situation wasn't by load shedding, which meant that they will have to have extended load, operating with generators. That resulted in increased costs for the producers, and at the same time, margins have been relatively thin, which will then impact on expansion plans and also whether the smaller players can stay afloat given the tight financial situation.
But Paul, it's not just the farmers, right? It's also the entire value chain. I mean, we saw the likes of KFC definitely feeling the pinch there when meat wasn't available, chicken particularly wasn't available. So the entire value chain there obviously disrupted, load shedding, much to the cause of these disruptions. Yes.
If you look at the value chain, the disruption in one area actually, boomerangs to the rest. So if you look at at producer level, for example, an interruption to operations at producer level, birds are not, sorted on time. They've got, infrastructure that is geared towards certain sizes of birds. And when the birds are a bit heavier, they're unable to do so. But at the same time, they're also consuming feed. You should, have reach the targeted weight and, slaughter them and not incur, additional costs. So those additional costs, the producer has to bear them. So and then it goes to up the value chain in terms of, processing and distribution to the end consumer, and the whole value chain has been affected in that way.
Any expected reprieve for consumers as well as farmers, food producers, particularly poultry farmers?
Well, I think as you can see today, we've got some rains that relieve pressure on the grains, on the summer grains. That's the first good news, because if we had extended heat, it would have meant that we might see a contraction in output, which will actually exacerbate the situation later in the year when the harvest comes in, meaning that they will still have to pay more for feed. So that's good news for now. Inflation has moderated, although food inflation about 12%, still relatively high. But the good news is that overall inflation has decelerated. So we're banking, international prices of crude oil have, come down. So if the situation persists on the load shedding, then it will bring a different situation in terms of the inflation outlook.
All right, Paul, we leave it there. Thank you so much, Paul Makube, senior agricultural economist at FNB Agribusiness, for joining us. All right, let's bring